Welcome to Learn with me. Today in our class we are going to learn about one of the most important and interesting topics in voice change, which often comes in board exams as well as in competitive exams. So in that sense it's pretty interesting. The unit that we are going to discuss from voice change is quasi passive voice. How to change the quasi passive voice from active to passive. Before that, one thing it may be very new to you, or you may seem it very new, that quasi passive. So what quasi passive is? So let us know this. What is quasi passive? This particular quasi, the original pronunciation of this is quasi. This is actually quasi, which means almost. This means almost. So these quasi passives are almost passive. This whole thing we can say almost passive. Now what is almost passive? That which is almost passive, it means it is not in passive, neither in active. It is neither in active nor in passive. So that is why this is quasi-passive. So there are some transitive verbs actually. If we try to know the definition of these quasi-passive verbs, there are some transitive verbs which are active in form. They are active in form. But interestingly, they are passive in sense. Passive in sense. Now these quasi-passives are actually some intransitive verbs which are active in form but passive in sense. Now how does it work? So let us take an example to understand it in a better way. If we write, for example, ice feels cold. So let us try to dissect this particular sentence in its structure. Ice, subject, feels, verb, cold, complement. So this particular verb feels, this one is active in form. Why? Because ice, this one is third person singular number. Third person singular number feels, that means feel plus s. That means this verb is in active form in present indefinite tense. Because we know in case of present indefinite tense, if the subject is third person singular number, we have to use either s or es at the end of the verb. So as per that rule, this verb is definitely active in form. But it is passive in sense, means ice, this particular subject, which is definitely cannot feel anything. Ice itself cannot feel anything. Rather, we feel the ice. So as per the form or the structure, ice feels cold, this is active. But as per the sense, this is passive. Why? Because ice cannot feel anything. Why? Because this one is actually non-living. So a non-living thing cannot feel anything. So as per the form, this one is active. As per the sense, this one is passive. These kind of verbs are known as quasi-passive or quasi-passive verbs. Next, we will see how to change this kind of sentences from active to passive. So let us take that example and let us try to know how to change these sentences following a particular structure. So the same sentences we are going to take, that is, ice feels cold. Ice feels cold. Now that one is active. So next we will talk about the passive one. Before that, the structure once more. Subject, verb, complement, or we can see adjective. Complement or adjective. Now first I will change this into passive, then we will see the structure step by step of the passive one. So let us change it. It should be, if we change it, it should be ice is cold when it is felt. Ice is cold when it is felt. This one is actually the passive one. Now let us try to know the structure of this one. Ice, that is subject, is, this one is be verb, then cold, this particular adjective, or you can also say the complement. Next, when. In that particular case, in place of when, we can also use if. After that, it. This one is one pronoun. This pronoun would definitely be used as per the subject. So in place of this particular it, we can also use they, because this will be used as per the subject. Then we have is, that is be verb. And at the end we have the third verb. That means the third form of this particular verb. So this one is the active as well as the passive structure. So let me write it once again for our better understanding. We'd write the structures. After that, following the structures, we would try to change one more sentence. So let us try to write the structure first. First one is the active one. This one is subject plus verb. Here verb means definitely verb 1 or the main verb. Then complement or adjective. Because in case of this type of sentences, you would have an adjective at the end. So this one is the active structure. Now let us try to know the passive structure of this particular sentence. So the passive structure, if we try to write, it would be subject plus be verb. Now be verb, it can be am, is, are, was, were. This is as per the requirement. this one is in present tense, and this one is in past tense. So as per the requirement of the tense as well as the subject, these be verbs would be used. After this particular be verb, we are going to use the complement or the adjective. Complement or the adjective. After that, when or if. After that, the pronoun. It should be it or they as per the requirement. After that, the be verb. Again, this be verb is actually am, is, are, was, were as per the requirement, and at the end we will use the third verb. This third verb means the third form of this particular verb. So this is what the structure of the quasi-passive voice, both in active as well as in passive. So the active structure is subject, verb, complement or adjective. The passive structure is subject, then be verb, which would be used as per the requirement among these. Then we have to use the complement or the adjective. This particular complement or the adjective we are going to use here. Then we are going to use either when or if, any one of the two. Then the pronoun, it should be it or they. This pronoun depends on this particular subject. As per the subject, we are going to use the pronoun. After that, again the be verb. Among these, am, is, are, was, were as per the requirement. And at the end, we are going to use the third form of this particular verb. That is the third verb, I would say. Or you can also say verb 3. So this is the whole structure of active and passive. Now let us take another example and let us change it. This kind of voice change is very important actually for any kind of competitive exams. So this kind of voice change especially we must learn. So let us take an example of a sentence. In active, if we write honey tastes sweet. So you can see the subject, the verb and the complement or the adjective here. So if we try to change this particular sentence following the structure, it should be honey is sweet when it is tasted. Honey is sweet when it is tasted. So this is the active one, this one is the passive one. Elaborately we have seen the structures in detail. So quasi-passives are actually active in form but passive in sense. In order to change those particular sentences, when we are going to change it from active to passive, if we follow this particular structure, especially if we can remember the passive structure, this kind of change from active to passive will definitely not be a matter of great difficulty. Confusions are there actually about how to change this quasi-passive voice or what is quasi-passive voice. Is there anything difficulty? Is there any difficulty in it? There is no difficulty in it, by the way. we just need to follow the structure, and if we follow this particular structure, if we can remember, then hopefully we can change this kind of voices. So hope things are clear. So hope you have understood everything in detail. Just try to remember one thing, that these are actually active in form but passive in sense, and try to remember both the structures that we have seen here. So that's all. Thank you.